Welcome to the 21st Century Marketing Meetup. We hold these meetups each month to explore digital marketing practices, tools, and strategies to help you build your brand through digital media. This month, we have a presentation by Brad Barbeau, Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship at CSU Monterey Bay and Principal at Ascend Business Design and Development. Brad is giving a talk on building digital marketing funnels. We present his talk in 3 parts. This is part 3. Drive sales through your digital marketing funnel. Part 3. Tools for the bottom of the funnel and connecting dots through narratives.
So I want to talk about narratives for a moment, because I think narratives are a very, very useful way of thinking about how we actually live our lives. We don't live our lives making a whole bunch of conscious decisions about what we're going to do next. If you did that, you'd never get through a day. We live our lives in these sort of patterns of behavior, and I want to call those patterns, if you will, narratives. So, Gabby, you're a softball player. Mm-hmm. So a softball game has a whole narrative associated with it, right? And what's in that narrative? Yeah, what are the parts? So if you think about softball as a narrative, but there was a great statement in there in which one of the coaches says to another one of the players, he said, look, baseball's a very easy game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. There's a simple narrative about baseball. That's what you do, right? You throw, you hit, you catch. And there's 4 bases, that's part of the narrative, and you hit the ball and then you run as fast as you can to get to the base before they throw the ball to the person who's at. So there's this whole narrative around baseball. There's a whole narrative around how we live our lives. What are some of the narratives that we live within?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Clothes, eat,
go to school.
All of these
Drive.
things are narratives that tell us how to live our lives. You don't get up in the morning and make a big decision about, well, am I going to go to school today or do I want to go on a world tour? We do maybe get up and we go through, do I really want to go to class this morning? But there's narratives around that also. But if you look at these as narratives, they're connected and they don't require a whole lot of processing decision power. Not that we don't make decisions during the day, but the number of decisions we make in a day is relatively small compared to the number of actions we take in a day. We take millions of actions in a day. We make tens of decisions. Do I go to this meeting or not? Do I go to this class or not? Etc. What about brands? When we think about consuming brands, what are the narratives within which we consume brands?
social acceptance, popularity.
Okay, so what would be a brand that you would consume inside of a narrative about, I want to be popular, I want to be seen as the in crowd?
Hydro Flask. Hydro Flask.
Hydro Flask.
The water bottle.
Oh, yeah, that's part of being
Yeah.
a particular in crowd. It'll put you out of another crowd, but into one crowd, right?
Yeah.
And you use that inside of that narrative because you have this belief, and a belief is a narrative. A belief is generally an untested narrative. We may have some evidence for it, but it's not about the testing of it. It's about that we have this narrative that says if we wear the right clothes and we act the right way and we talk the right way, we'll be successful human beings in however we define success. And success is its own narrative. Success looks very different for one person than another. So one way I want to think about this narrative is that, so in a narrative, when we're marketing to people, we want to match up our brand into their narrative. Or the other way we can do that is to try to get their narrative to match our brand. That's creating a need. That's usually harder work. We'd rather have our brand match their narrative. And what we want to show people is that their narrative works better with our brand than with another brand. So if your narrative is about you want to wash your clothes in cold water, you want them clean, but in cold water so they don't shrink and all the things that hot water does, we want to show you that cheer fits into that narrative most effectively. It's going to make that work the best. So that's the thinking here. So one way of looking at this is levels of awareness, of going from level 0 awareness, or what I've called here the great unwashed, right? Those who aren't aware at all of the brand or the problem or whatever it may be. And the first thing we need to bring them into is being aware of the problem, that hot water shrinks clothes, so you may want to be thinking about washing your clothes in cold water. So that's you bringing them into that narrative. So now they're aware of the problem. But another problem that exists in there is many detergents don't work that well in cold water. They rely on the heat of the water to help them work better. So then we bring them into our solution, which is cheer. It works better in cold water. So level 2 awareness is being solution aware. And then even if they're aware of our solution, in a digital world especially, we can bring them further through. Maybe they'll be ready to buy once they're aware of, oh, that's really cool, I'll buy that. Or maybe not. Yeah, but it's too risky to try a new detergent. I don't want to really try that new detergent. So we may need to engage them further. I don't know that I'm picking a great example to build around a newsletter. I don't know if anybody subscribes to newsletters about laundry detergents. Things that give them more of an understanding, draw them into this, give them more sort of reasons, get them committed to it, and ultimately then bring them to the level 5, which is their purchases, their active participants in the brand. So how do we move them through these? I want to look at some specific examples from clients that we work with. So the Carmel Natural narrative, and this is a developing narrative. We're still early in really working this narrative deeply. But the whole Carmel Naturals brand started with the founder's experience with cancer, overcoming breast cancer, and realizing out of that what she put on in her body was really important. It was potentially life-threatening. And one of the things she identified out of that was that commercial deodorants are really nasty things to put on your body in terms of causing your body to respond and react in not good ways. So she then created Carmel Naturals as a solution to how do I treat my body better so it will stick around, because she was in her 20s when she had breast cancer. So she nearly died as a very young woman. This is a narrative that people can identify with, and there's a lot of identification out there with cancer, not just breast cancer, but all kinds of cancer. And so this notion of, wait a minute, we should be paying attention to what we're putting on and in our bodies. This is creating an audience around these themes that then we can gradually direct them to what we have to offer as Carmel Naturals for this. We can't solve this whole problem. We're not going to cure cancer, but we can help through what we've created, which is an effective all-natural deodorant. So bringing people through here is very different than saying, hey, we're an all-natural deodorant. Want to buy us? What, really? How many people? There's too big a leap there. You've got to bring them into the narrative that has that make sense. Another client I've been working with for a long time, Granite-Crete, they make a permeable natural paving material. And so the narrative, and some of this is relatively new that we're still just developing, which is to start to frame this around what's the future of paving. Paving is actually ecologically nasty stuff, right? It's the way we make it is nasty. When we put it down on the ground, it's this impermeable concrete that destroys the ground underneath it because it seals it off. It creates erosion because of runoff. So what the future of paving is doing paving so that we minimize these negative environmental impacts. And a couple of those, one of them is water and soil management. And another, in trying to solve that, you can use what's called decomposed granite, which is basically, think of it as gravel The problem with putting down gravel is when people walk on it or things drive on it, it moves, right? So you've got lots of maintenance. You have to keep putting it back in the path. Well, granitecrete stays where you put it. It's permanent and it's permeable. It lets water go through it, so you have less runoff and you're not destroying the groundwater. You're not drying out the ground underneath it. So there's a narrative for granitecrete.
Thank you for listening. We hope you have enjoyed part 3 of this 3-part talk on designing and implementing digital marketing funnels. The 21st Century Marketing Meetups are a project of Ascend Business Design and Development. Our mission at Ascend is to help companies grow profitably. We provide digital marketing design and implementation as well as financial management for growing companies. For more videos of the 21CM meetups, visit us on the web at 21cm.global. Do you have a question or a digital marketing need? Reach out to us at Ascend. We're here to help your business grow.